Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have the co star of Lanterns Lane, Ashley Doris. Ashley, thank you for being our guest. How you doing today?
Good, good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
It's fun. I mean, Lanterns Lane is really a fun movie to watch. And most of all, it looks like you guys had an absolute blast shooting it. What was the experience like?
Well, Lanterns Lane was shot in Sonora, California, which is Northern California. And it was so much fun, but it was so interesting because Sonora doesn't feel like California. It feels like somewhere in the Midwest or somewhere where there would be like a hunting because
Yeah.
there's lots of farm property out there. There's deer. We shot from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for about a month.
A month. Wow.
Yeah. So it's funny because when I first signed on to do the movie, I didn't know we were doing overnights. So the lead, Brooke Butler, who plays Layla, she actually told me when we were eating dinner one night, she's like, "Yeah, we're doing overnights." And I was like, "Huh?" And I was, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, overnights." And she thought it was hilarious. She's like, "Yeah, we're going to be tired." And we were tired for about 2 days, and then your body kind of gets used to it. You get used to seeing the sunrise, and that's just normal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had a ton of fun. We were just tired for a little bit.
Now, Justin LaRue wrote and directed this. How did the auditioning go? Did he have to call you back several times before he decided to pick you as his Missy?
Well, it was interesting because I think they were initially casting maybe right around the time COVID hit. So if you remember March 2020, everything
Lockdown. Yeah.
lockdown, everything hit the fan. I think they were initially casting around then, but then they had to stop. So they started up the process. I remember, I think I sent out a self tape, which for people who don't know is when you literally tape yourself, you can use your phone or your camera and you set up your tripod and you have your lights. Like I have my lights right here on
Yeah.
this side and this side. And I put down one scene, two scenes, maybe three. I don't remember, but I didn't hear anything for like months. So I just forgot because
Yeah.
as actors, we do so many auditions, we can't really keep up all the time
Hmm.
because it's just all the time. So I got an email saying, "Hi, Ashley. We would love for you to tape again, but this time for the role as Missy because I initially taped for Layla."
Ah.
So I think they liked Brooke for Layla, and she was so good as Layla. Like she supported me so much. So I put in the tape, and I did it very quickly because I know that like if they are interested in me, you better move really quick,
Yeah.
you know. So I put down the tape, and I think the next day or maybe 2 days later, I got the offer.
That is so
So
cool.
yeah.
Now, entertainment is a hard business. What would you say was your biggest break into acting? There are a lot of actors who, want to break into this industry
Mhm.
and are struggling to find their way in it. You have a nice resume under your belt. Uh, what would you say your secret is?
Oh, I just love that question so much because I could say 1,000 different things. Um, First thing that you guys need to do is to really get in class and stay in class. It's so difficult to put yourself out there in front of strangers because when you're in a class, you'll probably be in there with 12 people who you've never met before.
Hmm.
And when you're doing this and learning this craft as an adult, as opposed to when you're a teenager or a kid, it's very different because we as adults have had the door shut in our face in so many different ways, whether that's relationships or family or just life sucks sometimes
Hmm.
and we have to keep going. We put on this mask every day. Little by little, it's like we're building up a wall and we don't want to express ourselves because it's seen as embarrassing to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So for people who are adults, anywhere in your mid 20s or I think I started taking class seriously when I was like 26.
Oh.
So yeah, just get in class and stay in class and do as much work as you can on lowering the wall. And I
Yeah.
know it's so hard because I'm a natural introvert, and I always have been since like elementary school. I was, in dance, ballet, and like not talking to anyone because I was so shy. But when you're doing this classwork in acting, they're really giving you a tool for life. It's not really just acting.
Yeah.
So definitely, and also take your ego out of it, because since it is so embarrassing, half the time you're like gonna be humiliated. It's gonna feel that way, but it's not really. It doesn't mean that you're doing a bad job. It just means that you're learning, and you have to understand that when you're learning, you've got to take a back seat to the work. You know?
I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, I have people I went to high school with, my own family, my own brother. When I started doing this, he's like, "Damn, where'd you learn how to talk?" Because
Yeah.
I was shy. I was always the quiet one. I always kept to myself. And when you're forced to step out of that comfort zone, you really learn a lot about yourself. You brought up an interesting topic in regards to starting out as a child actor or a teenager. As brutal as this business is, what are your feelings with teen actors that get into acting and they get on a hit show, they grow up, and then they sort of have the rug pulled out from underneath them and they're struggling to find work? Because that's what this industry is. I mean, just because you were a hit in your early mid teens does not mean you're going to have success for life. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, my thoughts on that kind of thing, it must be so difficult because your whole self-worth has been crafted around you doing this thing and
Yeah.
putting this thing out there. And I've heard so many stories where kids are supporting their parents,
Mm-hmm.
which is so wild to think about, the pressure that they must be put under, to really have to bring in money for your family. That's a lot.
Yeah, and then you also
Um,
have the kids that, they don't need to bring in money for the parents, but they want to pay back their parents by like buying their mom or dad a house and whatnot. Really sincere, good, honest intentions.
yeah, I mean, definitely save money for yourself. Make sure that you're going to be okay because yeah, it's weird, this industry. I think as people age, and maybe they're appropriate for different roles and they're not used to that,
Mm-hmm.
because aging isn't a bad thing.
No.
Like Hollywood makes it seem like, oh, well, you're this age, well, the door's closed. No, another door opens. But are you ready? Are you ready to be the young mom now, or are you ready to be the
Yep.
grandma or whatever? um yeah, that's tough. I would just say it's important for everyone, not only child actors, to be creative in multiple ways.
Be able
So
to adjust as life
adjust.
progresses. Yeah.
Yeah, and like maybe it's not only acting that's could be important to your life. Maybe get into writing,
Mm.
maybe directing. I have so many friends who are directing now and like producing, and I'm like, wow, they would have never done that if they weren't an actor first. So
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's
yeah.
get back to Lanterns Lane. When you got the script, okay, and I was even surprised watching the film at how Layla's friends, when they take her out to Lanterns Lane, uh, we can call it cruel. The level of
Playing.
playing around. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but what were your initial feelings when you read the amount of pranks that were going to be played on Layla?
Um, so when I first read the script, I remember thinking that all of these beats make sense, and I was really impressed, because at the time I was kind of getting into writing and I was reading books about writing, and I was really impressed. Actually, Justin Leroux wrote this. He
Mm-hmm.
wrote the script. So I remember getting on a Zoom after I got call that I was, going to be Missy. And I was like, I really have to compliment you on the beats that you're taking, because I was reading a book called Save the Cat and I was like, wow, this all makes sense. So the pranks that we played on Layla, I didn't really take it as, I guess I have to think as Missy, and I
Hmm.
just don't think Missy wants to really hurt Layla. I think it's like Missy's reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm here. Remember me? I'm your childhood friend."
The,
Because in the Zoom with Justin, he was like, "Have you ever had a friend who you lost contact with? Do you remember how painful that was?" And I
hmm.
do. And
Yeah.
there's something about being an adult now. I'm not sure I'll ever have that like childhood best friend back, that like buddy that you can call on your landline, back in the day. And
Yeah.
like you guys are just sitting there in silence because you're such good friends. And like you're probably watching two separate TV shows, but you're just like,
Yeah. You're
you know,
totally connected. And the way you
yeah.
described how Missy played out the pranks on Layla and her justifications, I saw it as deep down, Missy's hurt
Yeah.
that Layla left and cut off all contact. And, as opposed to Jason, where she was having that conversation, when he was having that conversation with Layla, where he was telling her, hey, you left. And she's like, well, you left as well. But yeah, but I came back. I kept
Mhm.
coming back. Layla left and never looked back. And I think that really hurt Missy. Did you go to Justin with a lot of questions in regards to that, as to how your interactions with Brooke, who played Layla, was going to play out in front of the camera?
I didn't ask him questions before. What I did do was I talked a lot with Brooke, because we actually drove up together in the same vehicle. It's
Nice.
like 6 hours to Sonora from, Hollywood area. So we talked back and forth, and she was asking me, about my personal backstory, what I came up with for Missy, and she was telling me what she came up with. Honestly, Brooke is such a good actress
Hmm.
that I just trusted her so completely. I didn't really think about, you know, the specifics of, is this hurting Layla? Are these tricks going to hurt? It was just in the moment back and forth kind of a thing.
Did you,
Yeah. And then Justin would stop us sometimes and then come over and like whisper something in our ear, and it would be a redirection. And that's how he directs. And I love that because he's not saying, do it this way for sure. He's just saying, what if this happened? What if she said this right now? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
like in the
yeah,
moment he adjusts.
exactly.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. Did you and Brooke, did you meet when you guys got cast for this movie? Did you guys have a chemistry reading to see how you two would play off each other?
Well, we had a table read. So we both had the role. And what I learned after the table read was that Brooke kind of, it's some people like to act at 100% or 90%.
Mm-hmm.
She took it and she made it about 30%. So the intensity is 30%. She's just kind of saying the words, to like really hear the script out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And then on set, she'll come with like these powerhouse moves, like when she ran down the stairs. Oh, I don't want to do it.
It's
I don't.
been 4 months. You can give a little spoilers away.
Okay, so when she we're in the house at Lantern's Lane, and she runs down the stairs, and someone gets stabbed or presumably hurt really bad. She was like, "Behind you!" It's like, to me, that's an iconic horror movie moment.
Yeah,
Like that could be in any movie and make sense because it's just so intense. So, as far as like chemistry and like pre-planning certain things, we didn't pre-plan. Like I just reacted off of Brooke, and she helped me so much. She really helped me so much. So I couldn't have asked for like a better Layla.
I really liked how your character Missy, as the movie went on, where it started in the bar all the way to the house throughout the progression of the night, how the moments between you and Brooke played out, where you slowly started telling her how you felt and how hurt you were. There were some really intense emotional scenes. And let me tell you my little secret. When I'm watching a movie, in regards to the acting, if I actually think about that this person is acting, then they're not doing something right. And when it came to you and Lanterns Lane, that never happened with any of you. I was
Yeah.
because you become engrossed in the film. If it actually crosses that your mind that these are actors, then something's not clicking right. But the moments between you and Brooke were very, very intense. You think that was because you guys just hit it off so well?
I think so. And also, the thing about Brooke is that she just has like this spiritual presence, you know? So, for example, the scene in the bedroom where we went from the bathroom
Mm-hmm.
to the bedroom, and I finally look back at her and I'm like, you've been gone for so long. Do you, what's your problem? And it is an emotional scene. And that wasn't the first take, that was the second take. Before the second take, I can like see it like it's happening right now. It's this bedroom, it's distressed. The set designers did such a beautiful job. I mean, everything just looked like, a deserted, haunted place
They
that was
did.
dark and dingy. And yeah, there was fog. The fog machine was going, and the light was coming in from the window so perfectly, like it was moonlight. And I was standing there ready to go, and we were ready to film, and Brooke just puts her hand on my back
Mm-hmm.
like this. And I wasn't expecting that, and it was just like the best show of support. Silent. She didn't have to say anything. The
Mm-hmm.
best show of support anyone's ever shown me on a set, and it was just so supportive in that moment that I couldn't help but get emotional. I wasn't planning on that scene going that way,
Wow.
but it was so powerful.
Yeah,
Like,
it was.
yeah,
It was. And
yeah.
people, if you guys haven't watched it, when you watch the movie and you see that scene, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. You said this was filmed in Northern California for a month. Do you know if that was an actual abandoned house, farmhouse, or did people living there have to move out for a month and the the set designers took over?
Well, I know the set designers really did their thing. I
Oh
mean, that
yeah.
spray paint was all over the place. But I think someone had been living there and then they moved out or something. Like no one was living there at the time, I believe.
And
But
did you guys actually stay near the location? You know, during the day
we
when
slept right in that living room. What do you mean?
yeah
No, just kidding.
yeah you almost had me there.
No, no, no. We stayed at a place called, I believe it's called the Sonora Inn. And that place is, oh my God, it was rumored to be haunted. So, like, right. So, a rumor of like a woman haunting the place, walking around the hallways. They have a very cute little cat. I think his name was like Vincent or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love cats. So, that was always a plus. Um,
That is
it
so
was
cool.
it's so interesting because it really didn't feel like California. It felt like a small town. If you can imagine Main Street, how quaint that is, and like
Yeah,
a small town in America,
I'm
it
very
was
I'm very
really cool.
familiar with Northern California, but
Okay.
let's go with the killer. Now, for me, anytime you put on a burlap sack on someone's head and cut out eye holes and put some wicked makeup on, it's going to be scary. And the look of the killer in this movie was very scary. Obviously, for you being on set, knowing who's behind that mask, it wasn't that scary. But as you're watching the film back, did it kind of freak you out?
It does. I mean, what I really appreciate about Lantern's Lane is like the coloring. It's
Mm-hmm.
very dark green, blue, black. And so it kind of takes the burlap sack that I knew was obviously a costume,
Yeah.
and it puts it in this light of just eeriness, and that the person in that, costume looks about 6'5"
Yeah.
when you're watching it. They look very tall. Um it ends up being the person is tall who was in the costume.
Yes, it is.
But actually, throughout the movie, a couple different people were in that costume, so it wasn't just
Ah.
one person.
Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense, depending on
yeah.
the angle of the shot. When you got to the end, and guys, the end does have a big plot twist. Did you like the way Justin wrote out the ending on who the killer was?
I did. I loved it, and when I watched it back with the cast, it was like experiencing it for the first time. It was just it had kind of like a snappiness to it at a
Hmm.
certain point. It was like, oh my god, everything makes sense, and like, yeah, his Justin's writing really shone through, and he was just so awesome throughout the entire thing. I couldn't help to get excited when Layla says no, and then
Yeah,
boom.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was like to me, and yet another iconic, a horror movie moment when
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And the person, yeah, we're not going to go any further because then we're going to reveal spoilers. Uh, so you have a background also. You're not just an actress. You have modeling, dancing. Where do those sit in your heart compared to acting?
um, like the modeling stuff to me. Okay, so I'm 5'4". So, and I'm from Connecticut. I used to go to Boston and New York for 5-minute auditions. I don't know what I was thinking as a model. Oh my gosh. Um, if a job pops up here and there, I'll do it, but I don't really think of myself as like a model or anything anymore. I spend so much time doing acting and listening to acting podcasts and like shows like this. It's just so informative to know what goes behind movies. Like it's
Yeah,
just something that really excites me way more than standing in front of a camera going like,
yeah.
it's so much more exciting.
And the competition is also fierce, as it is in acting as well.
Yeah, and I'm just too short. So
Now you have what did I see? A TV show that's in post production that's coming out. You have two
um
projects that are in post production.
two films. So one is called Redville, and that was so much fun. I got to act with some really amazing people on that one. I That must be coming out next year. It's weird. All of this like, you know, COVID-19 time feels like on warp speed.
Yep.
I It's so confusing what time, when I
We're
shot what.
watching stuff now that was filmed in 2019, 2020. I
It's
mean,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So that one will come out, I think, next year. And I have such an awesome movie coming out, I believe, this spring. It's called Lord of the Streets, or maybe it's summer. I don't know. But Lord of the Streets is about MMA, and Tretch from Naughty by Nature is in it. I
Ah,
play his wife. Because I love UFC. I know it looks random for me to like UFC, but I watch every Saturday, and we've got Anderson Silva in that, Rampage Jackson, Khalil Roundtree. It's
wow.
like, ah, it's so cool. So yeah, watch out for that for
That is
sure.
so cool. Now,
Yeah.
also, you seem to be like really, you love your craft when it comes to acting. Do you want to, in the movie, TV business, as your career progresses, do you want to delve deeper behind the camera? Maybe do some writing, directing, producing as well?
What I am doing right now is writing a novel. So who knows? Anything can happen with novels these days. It's a historical romance, and so if anyone's familiar with Bridgerton, it's
Hmm.
along those lines. So I'm doing that. I'm kind of just really locked in on acting. I do so many workshops, so many auditions, so many self tapes. I listen to podcasts. So I think right now I'm immersed. I'm so immersed. Um,
And
you
as
know,
almost every actor, I'm sure you have a special spot set up in your house for the self tapes, right?
yeah, we're in it right now. So this is the opposite wall of where I film. I painted an entire wall gray.
Hmm.
It's a matte gray. If you actors are listening, it is so beneficial to have a full, floor to ceiling wall, so you don't have to worry about wides, mediums, close-ups. You don't have to, because I have a blue background, those like, it's like a movable one.
Yeah.
So with the wall, you don't have to worry about like moving some background around.
And we
Yeah,
do have a lot of aspiring actors that watch this. So when you do your self tape and you're all done, it's everything's digital today. Do you do like casting directors? Do you send it to your agent? Do you send it directly to the casting director? I assume you probably send it to your agent, and then the agent forwards it to where it
yeah,
needs to go.
that's right. So I would set up my camera on the tripod, two lights, matte gray wall. It doesn't have to be gray, by the way. You guys can use your own discretion, but I use my fancy camera, although you can just use your iPhone. I know that's what everyone has access to anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I use my fancy camera. It has Bluetooth, so I put those files right onto my phone. I edit on my phone.
Nice.
And then I make it smaller so that it doesn't take up like so much room digitally. And then
Mm-hmm.
I send it off to the agent and then it's
That's,
done.
I mean, there are people out there starving for those small little details that you can't really
Yeah.
find anywhere. You should set something up and teach people. I mean, I think that would be great
I
if you
love
have the time.
I love giving are you kidding? I love giving people advice because stuff like that, you're right. No,
Yeah.
nobody tells us. I mean, no one told me I had to figure out my crappy, sheets in the back were looking bad and I was looking like I was in a prison cell with a white wall and you have to find out and I've made so many mistakes. You should see my first self tapes. Ew, it was bad. Yeah.
Well, let's see. I mean, now that you've been doing this for a while and you've learned more, what have you found out? How critical are that first self tape for an audition that you do? Is it, if something is off, can it totally ruin your chances for getting a part?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing for people to know about self tapes is that they have to see you.
Yeah.
So, not your impression of someone else. And I know that's hard when we get auditions for like nurses and doctors, and maybe we don't feel that we're that. So, we kind of like try to put something on.
Yeah.
But they want to see you. Like, I got this small role in NCIS Hawaii recently,
Hmm.
or to me, it feels recently. This was like over the summer we filmed, right? But I talked to casting. They were so nice. They told me why I booked the job. It's because I went in there and I did the opposite of what it said on the page. So
Wow.
the page said, and the episode's out now, so I can say it. The page said, there's a tour guide coming off of a trolley in Hawaii. This way, 5 minutes for photos and bathroom breaks, everyone, was the line or something. And so she's walking around, and then all of a sudden she turns around and whips out her gun. FBI. Simple role, simple, small, right?
Yeah.
But she said, the casting director said, other people were playing, FBI from the beginning, like 5 minutes, photos and bathroom breaks, everyone, like super serious, FBI.
Yeah.
But I just use my regular personality because that's what I have. That's what I have to offer. Smile, 5 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Innocent, right?
Yeah.
She couldn't be, maybe I'm in danger. Who knows? All of a sudden, boom, FBI.
There you
Right?
go.
So
Because
she said that,
that's what they were going for. Obviously, it was an
right.
undercover scene, and they wanted you to play off as that tour guide. That's
It can be as simple as that. Like, be yourself, trust yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashley, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. That 30 minutes just flew by. Any final thoughts you want to share with everybody before we go?
Well, thank you all so much for watching. I am so excited for you guys to see Lord of the Streets. Watch Lanterns Lane if you
Yeah.
haven't seen Lanterns Lane. And I'm sure I'll catch you somewhere soon. You can follow me on Instagram at Miss Ashley Doris.
And for those that don't know, Lanterns Lane is available for streaming on Hulu, and it's also available for rent or purchase on your favorite video on demand
Yeah.
platform. I want to thank our guest, Ashley Doris, for joining us tonight. I want to thank all of our viewers who are tuning in live and those of you who will be watching this later on. Thank you on behalf of Ashley and myself. Stay safe and stay walking, guys. Good night.